So hi to everyone that's watching our live stream. We're here with two of our volunteer kitten socialisers, and I'm just going to tell you a little bit more about what kitten socialising involves and how it affects the welfare of the kittens in our care here at Cats Protection.
So kitten socialising is something we do with all the kittens when they're between 2 to 8 weeks old. That's when their sort of brains are still developing. They're more susceptible to all of the experiences they have when they're that age. So it's important for us to get them used to things like human contact, different types of litter, being sort of poked and prodded a little bit as like a vet would for their vet checks, just to get them used to those things so they're not scared of them when they're older. And it sort of prepares them for going into their new homes.
Perfect. We've got a couple of people on the live chat just asking why you guys are wearing sort of like gloves and everything. So can you just tell us a little bit about what that's for?
Yeah, so that's really important because at this age the kittens haven't had any vaccinations or anything, so they're quite susceptible to diseases and nasty things like that. So it's just important for us to make sure we've got proper protective equipment on so that we don't pass anything on to them that could make them poorly. It's also very fashionable, as you can see.
And how old are this litter of kittens currently?
So these guys are between 4 and 5 weeks now. So they're quite big, and they've already had quite a lot of socialisation already since they were 2 weeks old. So as you can see, they're quite confident and energetic, and they're quite used to a lot of the stuff we do with them already, like looking into their ears and checking their paws and things like that, just to get them ready for their vet visits when they're a bit older.
Amazing. It's hard to see with the camera angle, but someone's just asked how many kittens there are in the litter. It's because they're all over the place.
Yeah, there's 5 in this litter. We have been struggling to identify who is who because they all look exactly the same. They've all got the white socks. There's one of them that's got a white tip on its tail, this one here.
Oh, yeah.
That's one discernible feature. So I think this one's called Roger. But all of the others, they are very similar, so it's hard to tell. Makes socialisation a bit difficult because we can't tell who we've done the checks with and who we haven't. So that might be why these guys are very well socialised, because we've done it multiple times.
And you're using the straw quite a lot to play with them as well. That's a good sort of basic tool for kittens, is it, to make sure that they get used to that rather than...
Yeah, it's good to get them used to playing with different toys, so that because they obviously have their natural hunting instinct to pounce and stalk things. So it's good to get them used to using different toys for that when they're little. And we find the straws are quite helpful because when they're kittens, they're naturally quite curious and they want to quite often play with your fingers or toes. So we try and distract them from that by getting them to play with the straw instead. Because obviously it's quite cute when they play with your fingers at this age, but when they're a bit older, if they get used to doing that, it's going to be quite painful for their new owners. So it's better to use something a bit safer like a straw.
Perfect. A lot of people on our live stream saying how lucky you guys are to do this as a job. I'd just like to point out it's not actually a job, you're volunteering time, but let's face it, it's still a good way to spend your time.
Exactly. I feel very lucky that we get to do this, definitely. It's definitely a good job to do. It can be quite exhausting at times when they're this energetic, but it's a pleasure.
And do you guys come most lunchtimes and socialise the kittens? How long roughly do you spend with them?
Well, I mean, it's best to socialise with them as much as possible, really. Obviously, until they get worn out. But we try and come over sort of every day almost at lunchtimes, and usually spend between that half an hour and an hour with them. That's usually quite enough time to wear them out, we find. And we can pack quite a lot into those sessions. We do all the checks and have a lot of playtime and stuff.
Yeah. Just for anyone that's new that's joined us on the stream, how old will these kittens be? You said they're sort of 4 or 5 weeks now. How old will they be when they sort of finish their main socialisation period and are kind of ready for rehoming?
So they reach the end of their socialisation period about 7 to 8 weeks old. And then at that point, they will be ready to move up to our homing wing and find their new owners. They'll also be neutered before that, vaccinated and microchipped before they go to their new homes. And then it usually doesn't take the kittens long to find new homes. They're normally snapped up pretty quickly.
Can't see why.
No, of course not.
Yes, I guess it's important to note about the neutering is that that's one thing we do put quite an emphasis on here at Cat Protection. It's just making sure that we don't end up with more sort of unwanted kittens in our care.
That's it.
They can actually get prison from quite young, I understand.
Yes, yeah, we usually try and neuter them when they're around 8 weeks before they go to their new homes. As you can see, they're obviously very cute, but the centre does get quite overrun with kittens, especially in the summer when that's kitten season. And it's not really fair on their mums either, because it's obviously a very stressful time for them to give birth. And so it's a lot kinder to neuter them. And especially when they're this young, they bounce back from their operations really quickly. You'd be very surprised. Usually the next day they're running around like mad things again.
Someone here has asked if the litter will stay together until they're rehomed.
Yeah, until they're 8 weeks, they will all be together still in the same pen. And then when they're 8 weeks, they may be separated into smaller groups if they're sort of showing signs of getting a bit fed up with each other by that point. But they'll most likely all go to different homes. And some of them may be rehomed in pairs, but usually they go off to separate homes. I think 5 kittens is more than enough for anyone.
And cats are actually, a lot of people don't necessarily know, but cats are actually solitary animals. So a lot of the time they prefer to be on their own anyway, although they can like to be in pairs and things. It's not a lonely experience for a cat to be rehomed on its own, is it?
No, definitely not. At this age, they get on quite well with each other, but I think it's about 4 to 12 months when cats reach social maturity. And so at that point, they can decide that they don't like each other anymore, which is very fair enough. So it's best for them to be rehomed separately, really. Get more space that way.
So I think we're going to wrap up here now on our Facebook Live. Give these kittens their final checks, get them back in their pen for some lunch. So thank you everyone who's joined us on the Facebook Live, and we'll be aiming to do this every Monday for the next few weeks to brighten up your lunchtime. So join us again next week and we'll bring you more kittens live from Cat Protection.